Many months ago, we set out on a quest to complete one of the most iconic Minecraft mod packs, All the Mods 9. Throughout this adventure, we witnessed a humble vanilla Minecraft player transform into a bee-loving modded enthusiast, who was just stubbornly determined enough to craft the All the Mods star and the starry bee. However, a new challenge is on the horizon, one that sheer determination alone simply won't be enough for. That challenge is GregTech, a culmination of enough technology, grind, and multi-blocks to challenge even the most skilled of players. Will we conquer the final chapter and emerge victorious by crafting the Greg star? Come along with us and find out. This is the GregTech Gauntlet. Hey everyone, my name is KryptoCal, and welcome to the next episode of All the Mods 9, Your Mother.
Your mother is my mother, and my mother is your mother.
The good news is that we have a working ore processing system that we had set up in the last episode, and boy is this thing working beautifully. And when I say beautifully, I do mean beautifully. We have a very healthy supply of all of these different dusts from the rare earth centrifuging, and it is coming in very, very fast. This is going to be important going forward, and we also have a good supply now of neodymium. We can make as many IV machines and energy hatches as we want. I think we're basically at the point now where we are ready to fully move out of IV and start into the LUV chapter, the ludicrous voltage tier.
We actually do need to build another wing or another couple of rooms if we're going to do that.
It looks like a lot of our LUV progression is going to be tied to getting some more unique materials from our ABS. There doesn't appear to be a lot of chemical processing in this tier, unlike IV, which had a ton of it. This is very much more focused on getting some other multi-block processing set up, because now we're getting into stuff like the assembly line.
We might not need as much room, but we still should make a room, you know?
Oh no, we definitely
we have a room.
We definitely need room.
A room, but not enough room. Not a double-decker room, but a normal decker room. A room for decking people, you know?
All right, all materials here are gathered up, so let's go ahead and start placing in this building over here. And while this is busy making itself, we are just reconfiguring this room, the single block room here, to basically just be the exact same layout as the IV wing. So we're just going to use this spot again as a spot to do our single block processes, and then the next rooms we're going to continue on with more multi-blocks. The fun never ends with multi-blocks. The material that we want is called rhodium plated palladium. And to get that, we have to first have the rhodium dust, rhodium sulfate. It looks like that's a byproduct of doing our inert metal mixture. We already have a setup here for it, it looks like. Yeah, rhodium sulfate.
Yeah, it's just not coming into the system. I don't know what's going on with it.
Well,
I did it.
Grace figured it out. She broke and replaced the electrolyzer, and now it is working. So go figure, I guess. The next step here is to go ahead and make the rhodium plated palladium dust. And that's just going to be a matter of mixing palladium with rhodium. So that's going to be really straightforward. The only thing I need to make sure is we do actually have a stock of palladium dust, because I'm pretty sure currently we're sending it all be immediately turned into the ingots. Well, currently we're making palladium by electrolyzing, is it sheldonite?
Yes. I think so.
Yeah, I think we're just sending it through. We could set up a bit different ore processing to get more palladium from that, but we do want to make sure we are stocking enough of the dust first before it starts turning into the ingots.
Yeah, we also can set up the palladium beads at some point, because we do have those. We just don't have them set up right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be good to set up at some point. In the meanwhile, I'll just use a machine cover here with some redstone control, just so that this only turns on this EBF, well, once we have enough of the dust. The first one is going to be palladium ingots. We're going to turn this off once it gets, over 8,000. But actually, now that I think about it, we do want to change this to only require a weaker signal to have no redstone signal. So if it gives off a redstone signal, this is the only case we're going to actually have a flipped logic system. And we're going to say emit when levels are above the limit, which is going to disable this. And the other logic condition is going to be using our dust condition. So if the level is, say, below 512 palladium dust, it's going to also emit redstone signal. So this way, this will always have two logic gates it has to check before it starts making the palladium ingots. I think that'll work. Okay. And I'll just make a IV mixer and slap this down in our room here somewhere. I'll slap it down right in the middle. Filter, please. Thank you. Ready? Set. Ta-da! I said.
I look. I absorb.
Cool. So now that we have that, the next step is just to, I guess, EBF it. We have to make an electrolyzer. Apparently, I haven't held an IV electrolyzer. Oh, because we're short on osmium wire. We have to set that up. We'll just set it up over here, get ourselves a little bit of osmium, and thankfully osmium, you don't have to use the GregTech stuff. You can use Mechanisms osmium for this, which is very nice indeed. Yeah, the next step here is just to get the LUV machine casing and the plates. We have to do something before we can set up the plates.
What?
Take a guess. The EBF.
EBF.
To make it.
Oh, no.
But look, we have a brand new room set up just for it. But thankfully, I have a new system on how we're going to be setting up our multi-blocks. I have a copy-paste gadget that I have lovingly called EBF. All I have to do is rotate it till I get the right orientation here, which is like that, and request an EBF right from our storage. I added the autocraft in for it. Paste.
Ooh, it's almost perfect.
For this, we're going to request the rhodium plated dust. Give this a little bit of energy. 20 seconds per ingot is not fast.
We've been pushing really hard into getting progression done, and now that we have the rhodium palladium automated and coming in, while we're letting that build up, I think what we're going to do is dive into something a little different, and we're going to check out this comb processor that we've been talking about forever because I want a stand mixer. This thing is so cool, and apologies if my voice sounds a little rough. I am still recovering from a cold. We could have probably had this running a long time ago,
Probably. We just haven't gotten around to it because we've been very, very die-hard on progression.
What we'll go do is just probably go ahead and gather all this, and this is going to be probably the only time that I think it's going to be useful to you, well, at least up until this point, to use the terminal to help build the multi-block. I think I have everything here. I think everything in my inventory is what we need to make this thing. So let's get our terminal out and also place down our comb processor. Now, where we place the comb processor is going to be important. That'll kind of determine how the whole thing builds, I think. So it's a 14x9, which is deeply unfortunate. Is it going to work? First try. Shift right click.
Oh boy. It's kind of cool, but it's terrifying.
It's poorly positioned, but it might just be kind of a matter of if it fits, it sits kind of.
It's a 1 block off. It's 14, and this is a 13. So we need to redesign the room. Cool.
I'm just going to take all the ports out. Or I'm going to rerun all of this anyway.
Just move the ports.
For now, let's just knock out the side here. So we're going to go input bus here, the parallel hatch beside, output hatch and output bus can go with a gap here. I'll keep the power also kind of with it. I want to keep all of the ports kind of together. So thinking about the logistics of how we're going to expand this over time, and if we are going to start filling in more of those apiaries with bees, I think we're going to need to have some better system on how we're going to manage all the combs coming in, because currently we're just doing it very, very basically with the laser IO system we have back over in the other room. And to be honest, and that's just not going to cut it when we're talking about some of the throughput that these apiaries are going to provide. So we're going to have to come up with a better solution. And I think the solution is going to be very similar to what I did in the last episode, where we're going to set up a subnet processing system just for our combs, because that way we can keep all of the heavy lifting of all of that item moving around localized to one small subnet, and we can kind of just store it all separately as well. Final products are going to come out of this once it's done and everything is finished. That'll come back into our main network, of course, but everything beforehand and, you know, processing in between, that can all happen.
I'll fix it.
We're just about ready to test this thing out. So what I've basically done, I'll go over the logic just in a moment here, but I have crafted up this ME stocking input bus. It's the first time I've made one of these, and what this does, well, it'll actually allow us to click this button, and it'll always try and pull items out of ME into this input bus, and that is going to be really helpful when we have a bunch of different combs coming in. It'll kind of just auto feed itself. Now what I've done underneath here is where all the logic's happening. I am running a subnet on the yellow line, which is going to be our comb subnet, for no reason in particular. But this is running from over back where we had our other comb system. I'm just grabbing some power off here. We have a little controller for our subnet, and this is the same router that's pulling all the combs out of our current beehives, and this really hasn't changed too much. Once I turn this on though, it's going to start grabbing all the combs out of our hives again and dumping them into this interface, which will then get sent over into our disk drive over there. The disk drive will then pull them into the disks that I have in here, store them, and then once they get sent in here, they're processed and sent back out. Now I haven't set up an output yet, and that's because there are some things that we're going to want to send to over here with our new little multi-smelter to get smelted up before going back into the main net. So we're going to have to make sure that the items that need to come over here first. All we have to do now is just run this underneath and hook this into the subnet. And so what we're going to do is basically have an output bus here. An ME output bus should be fine. This is going to send all its items right back into the subnet. Once it dumps the raw items that it gets out right back in here, I don't think it'll ever try and pull them back into the stocking bus. If it does though, we can change this stocking bus by manually coming in here and filtering. We can add the items to manually keep in stock here, which isn't actually going to be the end of the world, and that will then prevent it from trying to grab items like the raw materials out of here. Once it does have those items though, all of our finished products that it's either smelted or it's just gone through the centrifuge once. I keep calling this a centrifuge. It's a comb processor. Yeah, so what we'll do here then is instead we'll make sure that this is on a lower priority, and this storage bus here is going to be what's going back into our mainnet. This is going to be at a higher priority. Put this at, 10,000. So it'll always try and go here first. But we are going to have this filtered. I'm going to try and use the tag filter. I've always wanted to try and make use of this better than I have in the past, and I think today is the day. Once the items get sent into our storage, the highest priority will always be going back into the mainnet, but we don't want anything to go there that is a comb. The forge storage blocks / honeycombs tag would probably work okay, like that. Now we have raw molybdenum in our disk here. Do we have to give this a whitelist to be able to send anything? I guess so. I thought maybe just putting a blacklist in here would be enough.
That's unfortunate.
The forge raw materials, forge gems are like the two kind of main ones I see coming in here. That'll always try to go in there. However, I have to just then readjust on this end, I think. What I'm going to do is just send this into like a pretty big barrel. And what that's going to do is then we're going to have this priority set to very high, so 10,000. So even if it does match one of those tags, if it's one of these specific items here, it's going to first then come in and go to our smelter. Someone in the comments is probably going to yell at me for just, there's so many, easier ways to do this. But all right, well, this theoretically then should work, Grace. I think we need to test this. I'm turning on the router. It's going to start grabbing the combs. There we go. Here it comes. Let me get the terminal out just to see what items are in here. Let's take the plutonium, for example. In the input bus, we're going to request plutonium, and that's going to then process down and give us the plutonium ingots. So we also want to then say forge ingots are probably going to be going in here. Lepidolite, oil sands, pyrochlor, all this stuff we need to have. There's just going to be a little bit of filtering involved here just to get this all configured over. Oil sands, dust. Yes, so forge dusts also to come in here. I'm not sure how efficient this is, but you know what? It's happening. It's running every 0.2 seconds and it's doing 16. But for the most part, it does appear to be working. Our multi-smelter over there is flashing off and on, which means it is just running really quickly and smelting all the resources up. So yeah, this is, I think, going to be a pretty good way to do this, and expandable too. We can add more input buses. We could even add more of these machines if we want to. We now have a functional stand mixer in Minecraft. I think that's what we're going to call it for this episode. That'll be a bit of a shorter one today because, well, I have been recovering from a cold all week, but I hope you enjoyed this episode still. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I really hope you did enjoy. If you did enjoy this episode, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. Well, that's it from us, everybody. We hope you all have a good one, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.